How many of you remember this scene from Batman Forever, where Val Kilmer's Batman visits Nicole Kidman during the night and they make out for a while? Well, guess what? It appears to have been inspired by the opening scene from Detective Comics issue 475. This woman is Silver St.Cloud, who in Batman's soon-to-be 90-year-long publication history was the first love interest that Batman ever had sex with. Sure, with how continuities have come and gone since the late 1970s, other women in Batman's life have been given that honor. But as far as Batman's chronological publication history is concerned, Silver St.Cloud is where the Comic Code Authority let the comic writers write Batman in a sexual relationship. And no, they did not do it in this scene. Bruce and Silver did it earlier, as consensually as the 1970s were concerned. This scene is from the middle of Strange Apparitions, where Silver had recognized Batman having the same chin as Bruce Wayne, and Batman showed up to her apartment essentially to play the game of chicken to see which one of them would fold. Well, Batman was the one who folded and left while apologizing his intrusion, although he and Silver met later in the story arc to have a proper goodbye. Also, this side plot happened properly in the story arc that inspired the Laughing Fish episode in Batman the Animated Series. I'll probably do a comparison review between those two stories sometime in the future, because in this video I want to review and talk about this story that works as a follow-up in being where Silver St.Cloud canonically made her next appearance. There is technically this other story, Siege, but it has too many factors that keep it from being canonical, and it's too dated to the 1970s. I'll cover that other story later to fill up my DC Elseworld Stories playlist. Meanwhile, this is from the time when DC changed their logo from the bullet to the swirl. So, let me start telling you about Batman Dark Detective, written by Steve Englehart and drawn by Marshall Rogers. Which, by the way, as Spider-Man fans today would call as the story where Batman became...
Naiset ja herrat, saanko esitellä Paul? Mitä helvettiä?
The story first starts with Two-Face flipping his coin and deciding to do nothing as it lands on its good side, before we see Batman being caught by two cops on the rooftops and needing to disappear, mentally commenting that he wanted to test out the security of the event that he is attending as Bruce Wayne, and is content with it. Bruce's inner monologue also brings up that the event is a fundraiser for a United States Senator Evan Gregory, who is running for the governor of New Jersey, and is also engaged to marry Silver St.Cloud.
I couldn't believe it was her. It was like a dream. But there she was, just like I remembered her. That delicately beautiful face, and a body that could melt a cheese sandwich from across the room. She was the kind of woman that made you want to drop to your knees and thank God you were a man. Yeah.
Before that last announcement, Bruce is shown to be all in supporting Senator Gregory in running for the governor, but seeing Silver stand next to him makes Bruce flashback to when they said goodbye to each other, and Silver seeing Bruce in the crowd causes her to flashback to that scene I opened this video with. Still, they are both adults and Bruce quickly congratulates Silver for her engagement before she offers to introduce Bruce to her fiance. The first impressions between both men go about as well as you would expect from a politician and a potential campaign donor. But before Bruce can come up with an answer to being asked how he and Silver know each other, the Joker makes his entrance to announce how he is also going to run for governor with a running slogan that you should absolutely not recreate as a fan art at your high school's art class. Senator Gregory stands up to his opponent and gets treated with an unsurprising handshake from the Joker, who next makes another death threat at a random guest unless he is paid his campaign funds. And then Batman shows up to apprehend the Joker. This leads to a fight that leads to a chase that leads to another fight in an elevator shaft, where the Joker controls the elevator car going up and down while trying to talk Batman into becoming his campaign manager as a joke. Batman eventually manages to override the Joker's control over the elevator car with the Batmobile's remote before jumping out of the elevator shaft and essentially letting the Joker escape. As Batman walks away in shame, Senator Gregory is the only one to cheer at Batman, while Silver tries to keep looking at him as her man now. One of those cops from the roof is found dead outside, and when the news of the event are carried to Two-Face, he decides to go visit the Joker at his house. As a former politician, since district attorneys are voted into the position, Two-Face still believes in some parts of the system and basically tells the Joker not to run for governor to corrupt the rest of it. As Two-Face leaves after telling the Joker that, we are then shown how the Joker's house is full of death traps that you need to coordinate carefully through, along with the Joker killing Two-Face on his to-do list. And then we move on to the next day, with Senator Evan, Gregory and Silver at another campaign rally that showcases how fool/brave Evan is in not wanting too much protection from the Joker's threats when exiting the car. And Silver, left in the car, asks to be taken to meet Bruce at the Wayne Manor so they can continue catching up from the night before. She opens up by comparing Bruce as Batman to Evan as a fighter, and how she needs to keep her terms with Bruce on the friend zone. Bruce responds by being mature about it, in justifying that Evan needs his money to run for governor, and agrees to Silver's request to being just friends. So, as a token of friendship, Bruce offers to show Silver the Batcave since she already knows he is Batman, and because he owes it to Silver to explain why he is Batman. While showing Silver the Batcave and telling her about cases he has worked on, mentioning Robin, who is probably Dick Grayson working full-time with the Teen Titans at the time, Bruce notices someone else in the Batcave and tells Silver to stay put while he runs after whoever that is. Unexpectedly, Bruce ends up running into a vision of his parents being killed and reliving his origin story up to becoming Batman, before realizing that he is seeing more and more of his villains running around the Batcave. At first, Batman suspects Silver to be behind this, as this started to happen when he brought her down to the cave, until Scarecrow suddenly stabs Batman in the back and reduces him into a small child in the cape and cowl. As his mind tries to comprehend what is going on, along with his feelings towards Silver, Bruce comes to the conclusion that he is indeed experiencing one of Scarecrow's fear gas hallucinations, and it was not Silver who caused it, but instead that cop who had ambushed him the previous night must have been Scarecrow, who planted a timed fear gas capsule to escape to go off later when his guard was down. Realizing this, Bruce rushes to the Batcave's air conditioning controls to exhaust the fear gas out, and then immediately embraces Silver, rushing to him in an emotionally driven embrace. Meanwhile, the Joker murders that guy he threatened the previous night with an Oprah vinyl record, which the cops later investigating blame on Batman for not having been there to stop it, because he was having sex with a technically married woman. In the morning, they are both hit with the post-nut clarity to realize what they have is an affair. Bruce, while blaming it all for having happened because of Scarecrow's fear gas, is not that much against it, while Silver herself only regrets the fact that she has hurt Evan by what they have done. Also, Silver says that in her fear gas hallucination, she was made to relive that night she left Gotham the last time, afraid of what it could have been to be Batman's girlfriend. In the end, they renew their relationship while downplaying that it is an affair, and focus on to the fact that the Scarecrow's fear gas could still be in their system, so Bruce needs to hunt him down as Batman, while Silver should figure out how to come clean to Evan. In a time skip to the next night, we are shown how the Joker is planning to intimidate voters into voting for himself, and Scarecrow in his inner monologue confirming that Batman is going to be hit with an even bigger fear gas hallucination soon. Next we see Batman trying to hunt down Scarecrow from his old hideouts, but instead ends up coming across Two-Face robbing a stadium for the money people have bet on the games. This is what he was flipping his coin for in the beginning of the story, and tonight is when the bad side came up. Batman, when making his entrance, focuses on taking down Two-Face's goons first, which then causes him to have his back turned for Two-Face to hit him to the head.
Ja vielä pesäpallo mailalla.
But Batman quickly recovers from that to keep one of Two-Face's goons to interrogate where Two-Face is going next. And meanwhile, Silver is high on the thought of being Batman's girlfriend while downplaying her engagement to Evan, who then calls her over the phone completely oblivious that she is cheating on him, which then brings Silver back to reality on the situation she is in. Back to Two-Face, who is meeting up with Dr. Double X, whom Two-Face had agreed to pay money for having created a clone of himself without a scarred face. And look at how happy Two-Face looks being introduced to a walking representation of the man he used to be, that also wants loyally to stand by his side as the closest thing to a little brother to him. Batman then arrives having followed Two-Face and starts fighting him and his clone, while Dr. Double X stays neutral without getting involved. Eventually Two-Face and his clone, whom he just names Harvey, overpower Batman and leave to go collect loot from one of Two-Face's hideouts. Unfortunately, when the coin warns Two-Face to go enter his hideout from the back entrance, Harvey the clone says he is not a slave to the coin and enters from the main entrance, which sets up an explosion from a trap the Joker had placed there as a payback from when Two-Face came to tell him not to run for governor. Harvey the Clone's short life is so reduced into as much scarred by burn marks like Two-Face is, along with the telltale pale skin of being poisoned with the Joker's venom. And then we learn that the Joker did this while he was on his way to kill some random person, just because he is a voter. Bruce is later shown telling Silver, tending his wounds, that he found Two-Face laying on the ground next to his hideout's ruins and took him in without resistance. There was also nothing he could do to arrest Double X since... Is cloning legal now? Apparently, just therapeutic cloning is legal in some parts of the world, whatever that is. So this story is definitely set in the past. But anyway, Bruce uses the grey areas that Double X used to justify working with Two-Face as the same thing on why it's okay for him to continue having an affair with Silver before they prepare to have sex again.
Sä oot pettänyt maton häntä Heikin kanssa.
The next part of the story is then that second phase of Scarecrow's fear gas making Bruce relive a traumatic experience from his youth, where a friend of Joe Chill tried to have him killed to keep young Bruce from testifying against Chill for having killed his parents. Except that Bruce remembers the criminal trying to kill him as Scarecrow instead. Also, this flashback has a couple of inconsistencies that go against it being properly canon to the post-crisis continuity along with other stuff, but long story short, the young Bruce was able to overpower the criminal in the past, and in the present day, he wakes up from the fear gas nightmare otherwise in good health. After using samples of his own sweat to isolate where and from what the fear gas was made from to go after Scarecrow next, but first he calls Silver to make sure she is okay, as she is about to go tell her fiance that she is going to break up with him while coming clean about her affair with Bruce. And Senator Evan Gregory, while clearly hurt from being dumped, takes it otherwise like a champ or like a reasonable person who knows he cannot ruin his campaign reacting too emotionally to it. Silver also promises not to make their breakup public too soon and offers to still appear next to him for appearances, which Evan appreciates in acknowledging it as one of her qualities that he fell in love with her in the first place. And then after they part ways, as Evan needs to go participate in a group shot, the Joker sneaks up on Silver when she is leaving and kidnaps her while leaving a threatening message to his running opponent. By the time Silver comes back to her senses, she finds herself at the Joker's mercy in his house, wherever it might be, and being told that the Joker took her for the simple reason of wanting to blackmail her fiance Evan to drop out of the race. Meanwhile, Batman is shown approaching Scarecrow's hideout and quickly takes him out, while roasting Scarecrow for his fear gas having only motivated and reminded him on why he is Batman. In transitioning to the next scene, we get back to Silver trying to explain to the Joker that she is a poor hostage to use blackmailing Evan to drop out as they have broken up. But since she has to tell him a different reason for the breakup to keep Bruce being Batman as a secret, the Joker does not believe Silver. In the morning, after Bruce has cleaned up his wounds and Alfred has congratulated Bruce for having stolen another man's woman, that man arrives to tell Bruce,
Haluut sä turpaas?
but first they need to save Silver from the Joker. Since Evan is still an active senator, he already has the state police quietly looking for her, but he also came to Bruce for Bruce's pre-crisis rooted / rumored connections to Batman to ask for him to forward a word to Batman about Silver's kidnapping. Okay, this video is going to the Elseworlds playlist. For immersion, Bruce delegates Alfred into being the one who has worked with Batman, because he technically does, and also recognizes that even when Evan got dumped, he is still a good man who still loves Silver and wants her rescued. In the next transitioning at the Joker's house, Silver is used as an audience surrogate to remind us that the house is booby-trapped so hard that the only way she can survive is to stay close to the Joker and listen to his platform plan for if he becomes the governor. And then we get to see Batman going from one thug to another in trying to interrogate them into telling him where the Joker lives, until one of them tells him that Two-Face knows where the Joker's house is. While Batman next has to flee from the cops on his way to the hospital where Two-Face is recovering at, we get another scene with Silver at the Joker's house, where the Joker delivers a speech worthy of Senator Armstrong's.
I have a dream! Fuck all these lunatic lawyers! And chicken shit bureaucrats! Fuck this 24/7 internet spew of trivia and celebrity bullshit!
On why he should be voted into being the governor. I seriously recommend you to pause the video and read it for yourself. When Batman gets to the hospital where Two-Face is guarded in a locked room, Two-Face denies him the knowledge of the Joker's home address in wanting to get back at the clone himself when he is physically well again. Also, when flipping his coin, it lands Scar's side up, so that is another reason for Two-Face not to help Batman. But then Batman notices someone outside the room and pulls in another clone that Dr. Double X had created from Two-Face's guard side. Unlike Harvey the Clone, who idolized Two-Face like his little brother, this clone is the complete opposite in despising Two-Face and willingly sides with Batman in telling him that the Joker lives at 1 Jerry Lane. While that has been happening, the state police working for Evan have managed to pin down the Joker's address as well by tracking down a power diversion. And over there, Silver slips out that she hopes for Batman to come save her instead of Evan, which the Joker catches up and sees that she is lying when trying to explain the slip-up, causing him to violently drag her deeper into the house. Both Batman and Evan with the state police have by this point made it to the Joker's house, with Batman knowing better to move carefully around the traps, while Evan with his search party ends up falling into a trap, where Batman ends up discovering Evan as the sole survivor when dodging another trap. Evan in Batman's company leads him to another trap that he also knows to be blocking their way, which Batman, while treating him with the objective respect, analyzes the trap to figure out a way for them to get through it. They still end up getting separated from each other, and Evan, wanting to win Silver back for himself, refuses to listen to Batman telling him to stay put. Batman dodges a few more traps on his route from that previous trap, to eventually find a Joker with Silver at his mercy. After acknowledging Batman's arrival, the Joker quickly moves the conversation to ask Batman why Silver was expecting Batman to her rescue rather than her fiancé. The Joker clearly refuses to believe she and Evan broke up. Batman responds with such stone-cold denial that he could be rewarded for an Academy Award if the Academy had not moved their goalpost to what is eligible to win an Oscar. The performance convinces the Joker to keep doing what he was already doing to Silver, who puts up a brave face against him, and Batman uses that distraction to disarm the Joker. Joker resumes his inquiry as Batman charges at him through the bars, keeping him at bay, and Batman keeps up with his performance in treating Silver like any other hostage he has rescued from other kidnappers. The Joker seems happy to understand their hero-villain relationship has not changed while fighting Batman, who then defeats him with the same method that inspired one to create Saitama.
何の素質も持たないただの一般人。それが努力のみで限界の扉をこじ開け、リミッターを破壊した。
With the Joker unable to witness what comes next, Batman mentally slips into being Bruce while freeing Silver, who embraces him while telling him that this experience has reinforced her resolve for their relationship to keep going as it is. But then, following that sound leads Batman and Silver to find Evan at a swinging saw pendulum trap that has literally cost him an arm and a leg. Batman quickly rushes to treat Evan's stump wounds and uses his cape and cowl to make it easier to carry him and his limbs to Silver, while also creating a spare mask for himself. Evan is in a state where he is also drifting in and out of consciousness, and his limbs could be hopefully reattached. So, in a moment of lucidity, Evan acknowledges Silver's presence and begs her not to leave him like the cripple he has been reduced as, with Batman slipping mentally into his cold and logical way of thinking to agree with Evan's pleas, and Silver, as a woman with agency to think for herself, refuses to being objectified like a loanable body pillow for more than one man's comfort. You have no idea how hard it was to come up with that sentence. Before Batman can rephrase what he meant by being able to stand the pain of waiting, he hears the Joker, having woken up and freed himself from his binds at the cost of setting up a fire, charging at them with his clothes on fire. Batman easily counters the charge and redirects the Joker to run away on the clearly safe passage which Batman and Silver with Evan follow out of the house. Finally outside, Batman lowers Evan to the paramedics before carrying Silver down himself, and while the GCPD officers and state police debate about whether or not Batman should be arrested as an illegal vigilante or thanked for having rescued Senator Gregory, Batman slips away, leaving Silver to watch the Joker's burning house in the rain. I still remember the first time I read Batman Dark Detective, when I came across it in the third issue without any context for this situation with Bruce and Silver. I was also at that age where comics from the 1970s were a completely foreign concept to me, so I had no idea that this story was a sequel. So covering this story in a video before Strange Apparitions was also to let some of you to emulate my first impressions on it. Especially because it ends up unintentionally making Batman look bad, or like in the current Spider-Man comics, by having him be the other man in an affair where he steals away another man's woman. Especially when Evan is not even portrayed like the kind of guy who would deserve to have his fiancée stolen from him. And by having Silver kidnapped, the Joker pretty much saved her and Bruce from being confronted by Evan like Ismo did with Tanya and Ossi.
Ismo, ota isistä. Sinä turpa kiinni nyt!
Even when Silver calmly came clean to Evan about her affair, and Evan had a rather reserved or bottled up reaction to it when coming to tell Bruce about Silver's kidnapping, there is no telling what kind of reaction Evan could have had if he managed to catch Silver and Bruce in the act, and if that could have had a negative impact to his campaign for governor. This comic was so not a good first impression for me with the character of Silver St.Cloud, who when acknowledged past the affair she has with Bruce, is otherwise portrayed like a confident, strong, and sophisticated woman with a career as an event planner. Like for example, the fundraiser at the beginning of the story was set up by her, and Marshall Rogers' art style has Silver drawn in a variety of women's fashions. But again, the whole affair of her having an affair with Bruce while she is engaged to be married to someone else really ended up damaging my first impressions on Silver as a character. Although not as badly as someone's adventures with Superman did with this thirst trap objectification. When going through the comic with Robert, however, we both acknowledge that the affair was used as a therapeutic exercise to explore how Bruce Wayne had made his vow to be Batman as a young boy too immature to have even thought about love and relationships. When compared to Batman's other main love interests like Catwoman, Talia, Julie Madison, and Vicky Vale, who could be classified as the balanced love interest fit for a status quo change, since their relationship in Injustice was one of the few good things that came out of it, Baby Mama who only loves one side of him, first love in most continuities, I should cover Matt Wagner's stories with Julie, and known mostly because of the 89 movie, Silver St.Cloud is that love interest who loves Bruce while tolerating Batman with the mentality of
I can fix him.
Or that is what she probably thought up until Batman told Silver to go with Evan up until he has recovered from his injuries. That was when she... You know what, this story has the same flaw as the animated Gotham by Gaslight movie by not having the needed post-climax school time period, because I would have needed a follow-up to this starting argument to properly continue this analysis. So let's focus on the rest of the comic instead. Scarecrow's usage in this comic comes across more as a plot device needed to push Bruce and Silver together, while Joker and Two-Face fare much better when balanced alongside the main story. Two-Face, for example, was initially more divorced from the main narrative and could have probably gotten in and out of it with 2 victories against Batman with his little brother clone, if he had not gone to threaten the Joker about running for governor. But that scene was somewhat necessary for when Batman came to ask him about the Joker's home address. The Joker then was a case of being portrayed like the Bronze Age version from before the Killing Joke, which, if the 3 Jokers had not been turned non-canon, could identify this Joker as the clown next to Criminal and the Comedian. The way he acts out in the opening fundraiser has comedic overtones that can distract you from how he is threatening to kill people, while when he is holding Silver hostage, the Joker is mostly treating her with unpredictable hospitality. But just like after Two-Face came to threaten him, the moment Silver speaks up against him and is then caught lying, Marshall Rogers' art portrays just how malicious the Joker can be. Actually, Marshall Rogers' art is what truly makes me appreciate Batman Dark Detective after all these years. My favorite examples to bring up are how Batman's costume is drawn, especially with the design of the cape and the cowl's ears. Then there is this panel of Two-Face seeing his clone for the first time, which can really set you up to feel sad for him when the clone is killed off. And then there is again how the Joker is portrayed going from this to this at a turn of a hat. As a story, however, once again, Batman Dark Detective ends too abruptly, and with the passing of Marshall Rogers, Steve Englehart supposedly didn't have it in him to do any follow-ups without him as his artist. But Kevin Smith, of all people, did a follow-up to it with Batman the Winding Gyre. which unfortunately was never finished as an ongoing miniseries. So, what Kevin Smith wrote for Bruce and Silver in that story is more of how he views their relationship, with Silver trying to fix Bruce and so compromising him as Batman, but barely anyone pays attention to it. Remember, Batman Winding Gyre is that story where Batman confesses to have pissed himself during this scene during year 1. And after that, Silver St.Cloud has only appeared a few times in Gotham's second season before she was put on a bus, in Tom King's Batman Elmer Fudd one-shot issue, and as this lesser objectification in Someone's Adventures with Superman.
Philanthropist and fashion icon, Silver St.Cloud!
Why does this Superman show keep using Batman characters? Okay, and in going forward, the next video projects I have decided to work on will be an essay on Silent Hill 2, of which script I have finished by now. And then I have decided to do a 4-part review series on the early New 52 Batman stories that then led to the creation of the Batman vs Robin the Camo movie. And as another reminder, I am also working on getting a comparison review done on All-Star Superman before James Gunn's movie formerly known as Superman Legacy comes out. While waiting for the next video premiere, remember to like this video, comment what thoughts you have now on Batman Dark Detective and the character of Silver St.Cloud, share this video for more people to see, and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Also, ding the bell to be alerted for Tuesdays and Thursdays on which I will be streaming video games for a chance to chat with me, and may your heart be your guiding key.